Welcome to another episode of Say It in Four, a show where bold opinions meet real conversations. I'm your host, Terrence Edwards, and I'm here with crew Timisha Blue, Kevin Brown, Kevin Jones, and Jimi Lightning Hawk. We got a new name. He kicked off the season with us as Jimmy Roberts, but he's Lightning Hawk now. He's going to be with us for the remainder of the season because here at Say It in Four is very unpredictable. Today, we're diving into day 6 of a trial that's shaking hip hop. Let's talk about Diddy. Timisha Blue, what's up?
So we're at day 6. Day 5 was, days 1 through 5 were very eventful. Cassie was on the stand, I think, for three out of 5 of those days. The first couple of days, it was like one of the sex workers was talking, and then the other one was just a former person that worked for Diddy, I believe. And then Cassie took the stand. She is, I think, almost 8 months pregnant. So there was some back and forth between like the prosecution and the defense about if they would be able to cross-examine in enough time because she needed to, she's supposed to be on bed rest. So there's still some speculation there with if it'll be a mistrial because of that, but I doubt it. They got out what they need to get out. And day 5 actually ended with Dawn Richards from Dirty Money / Danity Kane. She took the stand on Friday. And then she took the stand this morning on day 6 just to finish up her testimony. She basically just talked about her witnessing Cassie being abused, kicked, punched, drugged across the floor. She also said that she was threatened. If she were to mention it, she said she took a lot of his statements to mean that people would die if this got out. So her testimony was actually a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. I thought she would be there a little longer, but today it was Dawn, and then the next person was Miss Carrie Morgan, who was Cassie's best friend for 17 years. And the reason they're no longer friends is because of Diddy, who assaulted her and choked her. She signed an NDA and got $30,000, and her and Cassie have not talked in 7 years. So,
Jimmy, really quickly coming over to you. How do you feel about this Diddy situation going on?
So I think a few things is happening, right? The destruction of one dynasty and everything that he can build, right? So I think that's clear. He jumped into the alcohol space, he had some choice words. So it's like, again, I like to say the illusion of inclusion. You think you down with all the people, but all they doing is pulling the puppet strings. And the moment you get out of line, we're gonna lynch you publicly, right? And I think this is almost like the same as an OJ trial, right? Like, people are not necessarily rooting for what they did or they didn't do because, Diddy wasn't reaching out to us for any, any advice or anything. So, but I just think this is another example of that.
So allow me really quickly to say a couple of names that's actually involved with this whole mess. And from day 1 to 6, their names have been mentioned during the trial. Kanye West, Mike Myers, Michael Myers / Mike Myers from Austin Powers, Michelle Williams, Lauren London, Christian Combs, Justin Combs, Dallas Austin, obviously Cassie, Kid Cudi, Michael B. Jordan, Aubrey O'Day, Dawn Richards, Suge Knight, Ike Turner, Prince, Kim Porter, Ryan Leslie, Britney Spears, Bruce Willis, Eddie Murphy, Chris Brown, and French Montana.
Bruce Willis is wild.
Sounds like the list at a Diddy party.
It
just sounds like an industry party.
Right.
That's what it sounds like.
Right. Kevin Jones, thoughts?
Yeah, man. It's a wild trial. It's a lot going on. I think too much going on, if I'm being honest. It really needs to, it's too many moving parts. And I think that, well, first of all, let me start here. Prayers to Cassie and everybody, that's involved that were affected in this. I knew something was wrong. I was what's that show called? Making a Band person.
Okay.
And when day 26 and
Danity Kane
were together, and then Q just had this crazy breakdown out of nowhere, and he wasn't the same after that. And then him and Dawn, when the kind of one. Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever, brings that up. But what happened?
Yeah, they still haven't talked about it in detail.
Right.
In that last interview that they did as a group, they all just mentioned like his mental breakdown. Have not talked about it in detail.
Like I said, I don't know that brother or anything, but prayers to him. But I think he saw something that he can't unsee, and I don't know if this trial is going to come out of this or anything like that. But I wanted to ask Timisha one question: is he the one charge that he has? Is it the RICO? Is he getting charged with a RICO, or is it just
he
racketeering?
Is getting charged with the RICO, but I think the backlash about it is, have they presented evidence for a RICO?
Right.
And as of right now, no.
Okay.
So like the only thing that even closely resembles that is the fact that him beating Cassie happened in different states. Like that, but there hasn't been anything else to feed into that RICO charge. Right now, it really is just he's an abuser. As of right now, as the evidence that they're presenting. So,
Kevin,
I have one more question. Terrence.
Sure. Kevin Jones came back firing.
I was already firing. Yeah. So and I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but not the RICO, so the racketeering charge. Is that because of the enterprises that he had? Like, is it like the enterprises that he had that he used, quote unquote, bad boy money for?
Yes,
that stuff
to fund this, to fund the sex workers, and to fund all the people, the revolving door of sex workers.
I'm very surprised that Cassie was the first witness. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that was the kill shot.
It was because she was pregnant.
Absolutely not.
Okay, gotcha.
It was because she was pregnant.
Yeah,
because I don't know where
she could only. I think because the doctor was going to put her on bed rest, that they had to finish her testimony within that week.
Yeah.
So it was like that was, so the trial needed to start by a certain day if they wanted to be able to call her, and she needed to be finished by a certain day.
Listen, she's the one that's complaining about all of this stuff. So the whole bed rest stuff. If they got to bring a bed inside the courtroom, then that's what they need to do.
No, it's not
happening. They need her up on a trial to say what she needs to say. I do have a question. Huh?
She was done when she got her settlement tea. This is a federal trial that came after the fact.
But she should have known that was going to happen.
Why would she have known that was going to happen?
You file a civil suit for sexual abuse, and throughout the case, they pull out all this information that points toward alleged racketeering. Yeah, you should have known.
She told her story.
Hold on. You should have known, or your attorney should have known. They should have known that this could have been the potential here.
Well, they said, technically, the Fed case had already started.
Diddy's a demon. Why are we worried about that it materialized to this?
He's a demon. You do him to be a demon?
He at least demon in the bedroom. He is at least a demon in the bedroom. At the very least.
At the very least. Well, my mom was a charter member for the Intercontinental Atlanta, and I remember her telling me that they had to shut the penthouse down because it had to be remodeled after he was there. So these stories, I've already heard these stories because she was an executive chef at the Intercontinental Buckhead when it opened. She was a charter member. He came after they had opened for about 90 days, and he came for a couple of weeks, $50,000 worth of damage. It was shut down for about 90 days while they remodeled and everything. So when they said this story in Cassie's deposition, I was like, oh, well, he does this at all hotels all over the United States and Europe.
Right.
Because I had heard that story when I was 17, 16 already.
Brown, question for you. Does Diddy's swinger lifestyle defense hold up considering multiple considering multiple witnesses are describing patterns of control? What do you think about that, Brown?
Does his argument of just being a swinger hold up? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Right now, the prosecution is not doing a good job of proving otherwise. That's the issue. Like, right? I get that they need to get Cassie up there first because she's pregnant. You only got a limited amount of time with her. Cool. I mean, I get the strategy. Get her up there, paint this picture as wide as possible. These are the things that he did with me. This is the range of things that he did to me. These are the people that I saw, try to wrap all these people in so now they can become witnesses. I get the strategy. You better switch gears. If y'all really believe that he did, he was racketeering and he has this whole like sex enterprise with sex slaves and, paid sex workers and all this stuff. And he's taking advantage of people and he's causing harm and he's wrapped up in all these other things. You better switch gears because if you don't, then I'm going to think you let him slide. I'm going to let him slide. If you don't bring up any of that, if you don't go as hard as you did on Cassie, the woman who went through all this, was abused and may have had Stockholm syndrome, and that might be why he or she was his bottom B at a certain point, then you better go as hard on the racketeering case as well. If you don't, then I think you let him slide.
So David James, excuse me. David James, who is the assistant, I believe, or was the assistant at the time for Diddy, he had mentioned that it is labeled to be Mr. Combs' kingdom, as far as like the bad boy headquarters and everything else. And here's my whole thing with everything. And I mean, please jump in where you see fit.
Oh, here you go.
If you're the guy on top, whether you're R. Kelly, whether you're Diddy or whomever, if you're the guy on top, during that time, everybody is having fun with the guy on top in that moment. The moment that they feel uncomfortable or something happens to them, now they want to cry and scream and say, "Oh, I felt uncomfortable. I didn't like this. I didn't like that." But for how many years, Cassie, were you part of everything, having fun, and in the mix of it all because you had this lavish lifestyle? Let me mention, Timisha said Kerry Morgan, who was her best friend. Cassie went over to Kerry and said, "Hey, on behalf of Diddy, I'm going to give you this hush money of $50,000." So clear, or 30. So clearly you was a part of all of this.
Well, Diddy couldn't go to her and give it to her.
Hold on, time out. So
He was a part of
Cassie
all
gave
this.
her best friend the money?
He made Cassie meet her at a pizza parlor and
Yeah.
give her the money in the NDA.
That's why I'll give grace and say it was Stockholm syndrome. Like,
it is Stockholm syndrome,
right?
Kevin, and he was in control of her entire life, her career.
Yes,
he paid for her apartment. He paid for he was in control of her entire life. And David James also said Cassie is moldable and easy and young. So that's what he wanted. He said, "Kim is my queen, and she is there in LA with my family." That's his retirement
that's why
life.
I think that's why I think beyond you getting her up there while she's pregnant, that point is to point this as wide as possible by using Cassie, someone who was so close to him for so long. Yeah, I agree with you. I really truly do think it's Stockholm syndrome.
But for the audience who don't know what that means, Stockholm syndrome,
you fall in love with your abuser.
Yeah, with your abuser.
Okay.
How old was Cassie?
It's a form of delusion.
She was 19 when they started dating.
Right.
If that's what we want to call it.
Right. Yeah. But I mean,
the same age as his daughters.
Right. Yeah.
The same age as his daughters. She had her first kiss with him, her first sexual encounter with him, all of the above.
So she did nothing when she was dating Ryan Leslie. She none of that stuff happened with him.
No.
Okay.
See, that's where I'll disagree with T though. You say,
you know how I feel about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you say if you want, but it don't matter.
Play back the last episode. We died.
But you say, it's they wanted this lavish lifestyle, and now that the lifestyle is over, they coming after him, kind of situation, right? And I just don't think that, at least not with Cassie's case. I believe that happens for sure, but I don't think that's the case with Cassie. But I also don't think she should be the focus of this case.
Understood.
Yeah.
Jimmy had something, T.
But I think because she came up in that music industry, and in her world, P. Diddy owned the music industry. Like, she wasn't gonna. So the whole black male component or blackballing, if you ain't got no other talents, right? Like that looks a little
Yeah, and
bleak.
remember, so true. And remember, Cassie was a MySpace artist, guys. That's how she got her start. Like, she was a MySpace artist. She made You and Me on MySpace with a little beat machine. It blew up for what the internet was blowing up at the time of MySpace, and Bad Boy called her. So it was lit. It was definitely like, oh my God, like my dreams are coming true. And then for him to take an interest in her and then make her the face of Sean John, made her into a model, because she didn't really have too much more music after that, guys. Come on now.
Right.
So
She only had one song.
yeah. So yeah, like made her the face of Sean John and basically made her Lady Bad Boy, because it was like, oh, every time we see Cassie, that's what we were going to. The same way it had been for J-Lo for so long, until the stuff happened and she had to separate.
And now she's worth $30 million or more because she robbed my boy
Oh my God.
last year.
See your boy wherever he's being housed.
Off your boy, Terrence.
Well, so he's not like my homie, but
that's your homie.
But I understand some of these things. Like I get it, like when you're the guy.
What the freak off?
Listen, being a demon in the bedroom ain't necessarily illegal.
I get it.
All is consensual, but still a demon.
Like a lot of women want
the baby oil. It's a little too much.
Well,
baby
a lot of
Put
women
drugs in the baby
want
oil.
experiences like that in the bedroom. They want that. They fantasize about that type of stuff.
I get it, T, but
right?
Like I said, she was 19. So I really feel like, really, Diddy? I mean, why didn't he do it with Kim?
And that's why, what's that movie? 50 Shades of Grey? That's why that blew up. And that was mainly
we know why that blew up.
Women who watch that because women fantasize about that type of stuff.
We know all those white housewives was really.
We
know why. You knew I was going there. We know why it blew up.
So I want to take you guys back. Like, I mean, I'm no famous guy. None of us are, right? But or woman. But I had worked Tribeca Film Festival a couple of years back, and I have a video that I will post up shortly on this thing right here. Kevin, we got to clip it. Yeah. And Cassie was there, French Montana was there, Little Kim was there, and Puff was there. And Puff and Cassie was having a blast. So when I see this trial and I see all this stuff years later, I think back to that night where she was having an amazing time and everything was fine, and she was around all these celebrities, but then now she has this problem inside the courtroom.
So did
it doesn't sit well with me. Say what?
I'm sure Tina Turner had a blast until her husband took her home and beat her.
What's that condition called? It's like where you got highs and lows. Manic depressive. Right? I think trauma can cause mental disorders, and I think people who have Stockholm syndrome, especially in this kind of lifestyle where there's peak highs, you're always in the same kind of situation, and then you get beat on, kicked in front of the elevator the next day. I think you could develop some kind of manic depressive mentality, so where you can disconnect when you're in the public scene and you can fully immerse yourself in that scenario, and then once that door closes, the night's over, whatever, and you back home, now the depressive state kicks in because you know what's coming, kind of situation. I could see that.
Jim, do you think that the industry protected Puff for far too long?
I don't think protected. I think they more so protected their own interests, right? It's almost like we'll keep you out of any trouble, right? But then you rock the cage with the whole liquor components, and then whatever else happened for now, the feds is coming in, right? It seemed like he rattled the cage until he couldn't, right? And that's one of the things that when you're in any industry that you don't create, we'll go back to that again. You are subjected to the strings being pulled. Yeah. And if you don't play the game,
his own britches. You already know that. You got to put it back in line. You got Revolt. Revolt was doing great. Especially that their conference. Revolt was one of the biggest conferences. Especially,
but he already had sold that. He was still a puppet even for that. It quote unquote started out as his, and then some other lady had took over.
That did well.
Huh?
I didn't hear that did well. Revolt Media.
I know that.
I mean,
that
it had some struggles in the beginning for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And they had the Breakfast
Started
Club on it. So when that's when it was peak. You know, they had the
Yeah.
Breakfast Club on it. When Nori's podcast was on it.
Yep.
Drink Champs, things like that. It's like they had their highs. But I as soon as to Jimmy's point, I think as soon as that video was released, people's interest started to change, and that's where.
Well, she got her money.
Like, you know, that stuff started coming down. Is like everybody's, I don't think you know good for us no more, bro. And that's when it all came tumbling down.
Yep. And she sued the company. She didn't just sue Diddy. Like she sued Bad Boy as a company.
Right.
Every company he had within those 10 years who have boards, who have, you know, other higher ups than Diddy as the face.
This is
why
not,
he got her money.
But hold on, this is
He
not
had
the
to resign from all those?
Yeah.
He had to resign from all those because he was a board
forced
member.
to resign from like all of those companies, Sean John, Bad Boy, everything that every company that she actually sued in that settled, he ended up having to resign from.
But
that lawyer was smart.
And we keep making this about Cassie, and that's not the real issue here. The issue is the racketeering. Like that's what the RICO, right? And you know, she has to have some foundation to base that legal suit off of to go after all of his companies instead of him personally for damages. So we're focused on the wrong things here. You know, he might have stepped too far. And I also think like the darker sides of the industry were getting a lot of attention. And I think Diddy, real talk, might be a pressure release, right?
Okay.
They needed to take the pressure off and have a scapegoat, and they threw Diddy under the bus.
Yeah. People got to remember that like a lot of them, they started when they was like, what Diddy was like 19, 20?
After he left Howard.
Right. You know, when they came from that street mentality, right? Mount Vernon and all of that. So you think you like bigger than the world, but you forget you still got a plug, right? Like again, if you're not creating these industries versus trying to be a part of it, and I'm in the $1 Million Boy Club and create your own, and nobody can take it. But they knew that, so they just was like, oh no, here we go. We're getting you sauced up. We're getting you ready to be all in it.
So I have a couple of names, and then I'm going to go into my last question before we go to the next segment. And whatever comes to mind, anybody can go. First name, Kim Porter.
Murdered.
Yeah.
Secrets.
He killed her.
She knew everything, and he got her up out of there.
You think Puff did it, Jimmy?
Yes, absolutely.
And Kevin.
Yeah.
I think he did it too.
She knew too much.
What'd you say, Kev?
Allegedly.
She knew too much. I'll stand on that.
Yeah, allegedly, a lot of people around somebody instantly be murdered or sick, or that's a crazy coincidence.
That's wild. Money. That's wild.
No, to Jimmy's point, all them uptown people suddenly passed away. All of them, except I'll be sure. I'll be sure.
He was like this.
What's his name?
Wait, I'll be sure was in a coma for a little bit, wasn't he?
Oh, not a little bit.
Like
in like 90 days. His name is not for it's Terrell.
Harrell what though?
Andre Harrell.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So he passed away too.
Died.
And I think
almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Come on, fam.
Very mysterious and ironic.
So Kevin Brown just mentioned another name that I was gonna say, I'll be sure.
Yeah.
Because he was almost out of there too. And then he made it out. And then they're throwing Jamie Foxx's name in the hat too.
For what?
He almost got him out of here too.
You remember when he went into a coma?
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And he was around the parties too. Like he was
the
main guy.
Again. He was the cameraman, Cal. I was just about to say, Cal, say that again. Yes,
that's how he got in. He took the camera everywhere.
No, that's true. That is true.
So I'm sure he has tons of footage. And allegedly, we got to say that word, before the coma, the last person who hung out with Jamie Foxx was Diddy.
Shut up. In Atlanta?
Allegedly.
I believe it.
So I just want to throw that out there.
Terrence, you need to add Kimora to your list. I know Kimora is the keeper of secrets, and I don't know what she done did to be able to still be alive. That's how I feel about it. I
But
feel
why
like
you say that?
because her and Kim were, she has guardianship of the twins. They live with her.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the twins live with her.
Right.
So I heard.
Yes,
So
sir.
whatever. If I don't know if she gonna wait till Diddy died to write her book, or it's in the vault or the safe deposit box or whatever, wherever it's at. But
She better watch her back.
And-
that's what I.
Here's a
Another-
okay. Here's
another-
a, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I got a philosophical question, like just kind of a yes or no question for everybody. If you were in Cassie's situation and say Diddy was guilty of the most egregious crimes or accusations that people are making right now, would you do what Cassie's doing and go through what she's going through right now? Basically, would you speak up? Would you blow the whistle and be willing to essentially put your life on the line?
Yeah, I would. In a heartbeat.
I agree. I would. I'm screaming.
Mm-hmm.
think I would too.
Yeah, I probably would have killed them on low already.
I mean,
Yep, I'm being dead serious. Like, yeah,
I mean,
for
he
real.
would have
handle it
smoked,
myself.
smoked a fentanyl blunt or something.
Yeah,
Like they would. Them
one
hands
of them prostitutes would have killed him. Like, listen, bro, you choke him a little bit. He got this.
Right, I'm gonna jump.
Yeah.
When his eyes start bugging, that means
Right.
you don't like it. Just
So, like,
Another
it's-
name that comes to mind also is Wendy
What?
Williams.
Wendy
She
called it.
suddenly, right,
She-
Trying
right,
to tell
She
you, man.
called it, and then all of a sudden she in the conservatorship.
right.
Trying to get up her out of
Wait,
there.
but what's Diddy's association with that? Like, I know what happened to her, but like, how does
You
that
know
connect
too
Diddy?
much.
Well, she knows a lot about Diddy,
Yeah,
and
she
was trying to
she
out.
used to
Yeah,
stay on Diddy and Cassie.
Right,
They were on hot.
Yes.
They probably
Yeah,
were
back
on
in the
Hot
day.
Topics 30% of her shows for them 10 years. They was on
Oh.
Hot Topic. She
I
used to
didn't know.
stay on Diddy and Cassie.
Mhm.
She
None of
did.
this
didn't
stuff is a
know.
coincidence. None of this stuff is a coincidence.
Yeah,
None
she
of it.
used to stay
Mm.
on them. And she,
See,
she
this
just
is what
dropped-
we need to be focusing on. Why
Yeah.
are we talking about like I feel so sorry for Cassie, but stop
No, we
talking about
didn't.
her. Get to the
Yeah.
meat.
They will.
It's just the start, Kevin. They said they said it's going to be several more weeks,
Yeah.
well into the summer. So
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
I don't like honestly. I think even putting like Cassie on the thing, she had to now bring everything that she put in secret out in the public. So I really
Right.
think that was a humiliation. I mean, because it's already there. It's not like everybody already knew this stuff, but for her to have to say it, right,
Mhm.
and actually experience I think she going. That's trauma to the baby. Like I'd have
Yeah,
been
it
like,
is.
I find nothing, bro. I got a whole baby inside of me, and like nah.
and then
Right.
the thing I wanted to say, Boosie need to be quiet. That's what I do want to say.
What is
Boosie's
Boosie talking about?
He's talking about Alex and Cassie mastermind this whole thing. Boosie, that is not how the government works. And I'm sure the fans
yeah.
ran up in your house enough for you to know that.
Jim, if you're Alex Fine, that's Cassie's husband's name, I believe.
Mhm.
Are you dumping her, divorce after this is all said and done?
She told him everything. She
You
told
think
him.
so?
I had that conversation before.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I had to.
yeah. I mean,
Wait. Okay, so hold on. So I want to go to Kevin Jones. So Jones, you're saying absolutely he knows about all of this.
Yeah, there's no way. No, there's
Right.
no way that he doesn't. No
Right.
way.
But
No
about
way.
the FaceTime, being
All
in the
that stuff.
bed, all
She
that stuff
told
like
him-
that.
I believe she told him everything. Because
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he was surprised by anything.
Why would you wait for
Wow.
this to go when you know this is going to be public? Once they subpoenaed her, that's when it all had to come out.
If he didn't already know.
If he didn't already know at that point, listen,
right.
Mhm.
baby, like I did some stuff in my past. It's going to come out.
I mean, they live on a ranch. It ain't too much to do on a ranch, but for me to tell you what happened in them 10 years.
Yeah.
We did.
Listen, ranch life is it. I can't.
Oh man,
Ranch
in
life.
Wyoming somewhere or Montana.
Middle of
I'm just
nowhere.
saying,
I'll take it.
Hey,
yeah,
that
I'll take it.
Many times I
Yeah.
can ride a horse, guys. So
that 30 million will go a long way out there.
yeah.
Definitely is.
Right.
Like,
I had one last question in regards to this, and we kind of touched on it, but I'm sure this is not going to be the last time or the last celebrity or, figure who gets blamed for something. But an evergreen question here. Why do so many victims of powerful figures stay silent? Is it fear, money, manipulation, etc.? So what I mean by that whether it's Albie Shore, whether it's the Jamie Foxx of the world, all these people who have been at Diddy's party, why are they not coming out saying anything about this?
Here,
Of things that they witness.
I think that for the most part, the ones that was close to him, like I'll be sure who would know. He had the kids. He had his son. His son is just like his son isn't his real son, but he adopted him, right? That's ransom
right.
right there. The same
Mhm.
thing with what's the other girl? The other girl that he was with, and he got the son, Justin mom. Like
Mhm.
she know a bunch of
Misa,
stuff
yep.
too, right? Like so I mean, I think that's one of the things. And then people die. Like,
Mhm.
are we forgetting people die?
I mean, Biggie
Right.
died. like I'm just saying,
Right.
this is one of his this is supposed to be his best friend.
And
Even that song about it.
wasn't that a part of it, the whole thing too? Like,
Yeah, his mom, and I felt so bad that Biggie's mom died before this trial started. But she was gun ho that he had something to do with her son's death. So
Yep.
yeah.
So,
Which
but
question? I mean,
yeah.
she recently passed away, so did he have something to do with that as well? That's another thing. So
I mean, because I think his mama older than Biggie mama, and she's still walking around in them bad wigs.
That ain't his mom. That's his aunt, they say.
Shut up.
Wow. See?
Yeah.
It's a lot going on, man. It's a lot going on with this.
it's a lot going on.
Shut
And
up. So,